Thanks for joining us for 5 on 5. I'm Joe Sullivan. Pleased to be joined today by Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield. Thanks for being here.
Oh, always a pleasure.
Now, you're doing a lot of town halls around the state. What are you hearing most from the people at these town halls?
And the purpose of the town halls is to really connect with Oregonians to hear about the impacts of some of the federal actions that are going on right now. So we'll hear things in the food supply chain, where we're hearing people that are losing their food benefits. We're hearing from farmers that have contracts with the federal government that are being cut off when they've already got food in the ground. We're hearing about from health benefits to federal layoffs and how that's impacting the stability of the services that people rely on. Think about Social Security. So it's a really broad range of topics that we're covering.
And what are these people looking for from you at these town halls? Just to listen?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. Right now, a lot of the decisions that are going on in the back east in Washington, D.C. are being done in closed room doors. They're not being done in Congress, and these decisions are impacting us all. So as the Attorney Generals, we're pushing back and trying to make sure people are just following the law and the Constitution. We're able to gather information about the impacts on the ground so we can better represent Oregonians in this space.
So listening to the people, then giving that feedback where it can, make an impact.
Absolutely.
And let me ask you about this multi-state lawsuit that you're leading against the Trump administration. Where are we with this? Last week you were in Washington, D.C. What's the update?
Yeah, and so this is the tariffs case that's impacting all of us. And the real reason that I was motivated to make sure that Oregon was a leader on this is because tariffs are things that pass down to all of us as consumers. You're now hearing people from Black & Decker, Walmart, big companies that we trust that have saying that they are passing them down right now, the cost of tariffs, or they will be passing them down. And so what we want Trump to do and the president to do is follow the laws when you're passing tariffs. Tariffs can be a valuable tool. However, you got to do them the right way. You got to do them the way that Congress said you need to do them. And this is interesting. The president is using an emergency power and abusing an emergency power in a way that no other president has to implement these tariffs. So we went to an international trade court in New York. We were successful there with 3 judges from all walks of life. We were in front of 11 judges last week in Washington, D.C., the federal appeals court. We expect a ruling probably in the next couple of months on how they see that world.
What about these executive orders that President Trump continues to have? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing. In an election, when you win an election, you get a tremendous amount of powers, right? And I think we need to respect that in the United States. However, whether you're the president, whether you're myself as an attorney general, a governor, or in the legislature, you got to follow the Constitution and you got to follow the law. And when you're not doing that, that's when we're stepping in and saying, okay, we're going to file a lawsuit to compel you to follow the Constitution and to follow the law. And that's really the genesis for a lot of these cases. Some of the things that the president is doing could very well do if they had congressional approval, but he's trying to do them in a way that is subverting the actual rule of law and what Constitution or the Congress was intended to do.
Hasn't there been other presidents, though, have used executive orders, though, in the past, though, right?
Absolutely. And this is the interesting thing. I think over probably, if you did an analysis over the last 10 to 20 years, you've seen Democratic and Republican presidents start to push the bounds of executive authority. And depending on the party that's office, like if it's a Democrat that's in office, the Republicans get grumpy, and once the Republicans in, the Democrats get grumpy. Really what we all have to be founded, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat, the thing is the rule of law matters, and we should all be following that. Doesn't matter what your party is.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and be right back with part 2 of our 5 on 5. Stay with us. I'm Joe Sullivan. Welcome back to part 2 of our 5 on 5 with Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield. What role does the Attorney General play in illegal drugs? It seems like fentanyl, a big problem all around the state, especially in the Rogue Valley.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about this, the federal work that we're doing on, but we have other major initiatives coming out of the Department of Justice, and one of those is focusing on organized crime and really tackling that in communities across the state. And so we're actually reforming our group internally to be more proactive, working with local law enforcement. In fact, I was in Bend yesterday meeting with the district attorneys at their conference, really kind of focusing on how we're doing that. So what you'll see from us is more partnership in our local communities and law enforcement to tackle organized crime crime, which is the element that we hit it at. So think about drug trafficking, you think about human trafficking here locally in your area. Yeah. We're thinking about labor trafficking. And so this is the area that we focus on, partnering with federal, state, and local law enforcement to make a bigger impact. Not doing the one-on-one stuff that you think about when you're going through the community. That's your local law enforcement, your police. More of a high-level organized crime level is what we're focused on.
You mentioned labor trafficking. What are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, so we have an organized crime section within our criminal justice division. So we think about the illegal marijuana grows that are going on right now and how labor trafficking is impacting. This is an area that we want to add value to community to be able to come in and stop this organized crime that's going on. Retail theft is something we don't think about, but retail theft manifests itself in the prices we pay. That gets passed on down to us. Think about illicit massage parlors up in the Portland area. A lot of this is organized crime. This is the responsibility that we have. We tried to get the legislature to invest in more resources for us to tackle them. It's an incredibly tough budget environment right now, but we're going to continue to push, and we're reorganizing the resources we do have to make a bigger impact.
You've been on the job for about 8 months now. What has surprised you the most?
Oh, goodness.
Tough question for you.
You know what I will say is I am humbled every time I talk to the people that work at the Department of Justice. These are people that are serving more than 20 years in one job, serving the state, whether it is protecting consumers, whether it's reducing crime in our communities. It is incredibly humbling to see people that serve the state and not for big bucks. And they're doing it on behalf of it, and they believe in the mission. And so it's like amazing to be a part of that team, working together, kind of this common vision. So that's the one thing. Maybe that's not a surprise, but it's just heartwarming.
Yeah. We have about a minute left. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on?
Well, thanks for having us. We got to get you up to, I'm from Corvallis, so we got to get you up to a Beaver game more frequently. I hear you only go to Duck games.
That is not true. I went to one Beaver game last year. I was supporting Oregon State.
But how many Ducks games did you go to?
I went to 6 last year.
That's my point.
Daughter goes to Oregon in full disclosure. So final point, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I appreciate just having here. I think the one thing for people to know is that the Department of Justice is here looking out for Oregonians. We're focusing on consumers, seniors, working families, and a consumer space. We're trying to keep our communities safe in the criminal justice space. And then what we're trying to do is make sure it doesn't matter who you are, that we're following the Constitution, we're following the law.
Attorney General, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with more local news.